get to the end of the road together. But now, with that being said, when we're talking about the disabilities, okay, we want to specifically talk about eligibility. There has been a huge notion that you must have an honorable discharge to receive VA disability benefits. That is another misnomer that has been put out there. You don't only need an honorable discharge to receive VA benefits, okay? There are different criteria of discharge that you receive getting out the military. We have honorable, we have obviously dishonorable, right? And then we have such things as general, all right? A general medical discharge or just a general discharge or other than honorable. But now with those classifications of your DD-214s of your discharge, the VA does not take that into account because the DOD and the Department of Veterans Affairs are two different agencies. And unfortunately, they don't talk to one another, okay? They do not get along, they don't talk to one another, and what happens is that miscommunicated information is here, and now this guideline is a different representation over here. So you will hear all the time, if you get kicked out of service, you're never going to get a job. You're not going to have access to your disability benefits. You are going to be I guess, again, for the lack of better terms, the ones who are unwanted, okay, while back in the civilian sector. Well, I want to go ahead and tell you one thing. It's a misnomer there. It's a myth. You don't necessarily need honorable discharge to receive VA disability benefits. You can have another honorable discharge. You can have a general discharge and obviously an honorable. However, if you receive a bad conduct discharge or dishonorable discharge, that is the time and that is the moment where your benefits are then barred. What that means is that you don't have access to the benefits that's afforded to you because you received a dishonorable discharge, okay? However, when we're talking about other than honorable discharge, an other honorable discharge, you can be discharged for certain things during that time period of service that may now be acceptable for today's world, but wasn't acceptable throughout the UCMJ. Who remembers the UCMJ? So we're living two different, we have to abide by the guidelines in the UCMJ, and we also have to abide by the legal laws. So now when we're talking about regular laws that we must abide by, they don't necessarily coincide with one another. So now what the VA is going to do, they're going to provide you something called administrative decision. An administrative decision when you have an other than honorable a discharge. And at that point, they're going to investigate why you were discharged, does it meet the criteria of being barred of benefits, and do you have a period of service that was honorable for VA purposes to receive benefits. So just because you went from 98 to 2003 of service, and then you went 2004 to 2006 and you were discharged for other than honorable, well, they're going to concede that 98 to 2003 as honorable for VA purposes. So now you're able to receive benefits amongst that, okay? But unfortunately, these are the things that no one's discussing. Okay? However, we want to get the information to you guys. We want to get it to you as fast as possible, and we want to get your benefits as the fastest traceable means, all right? Now, that's for the first eligibility purposes. Now, when we're talking about that, we also want to talk about some of the examples of injuries, diseases, and issues that was dealt with while in service. However, that probably was either one, never claimed, should have been claimed, or that you perceive not being so bad, all right? And what I mean by that is, I want you to understand, while in service, and when I talked about transitioning out, right, and being in service, The change in myself, we all understand that vulnerability was not something that was acceptable during military service because, again, being vulnerable, going to medical, going to leadership, talking about these things, what happened was you were looked at differently. Okay, and in your duty station or in your branch of service, it was probably something different. But they call, again, you, if you went to medical on a regular basis, you were called a medical commando, right? Or you were a dirtbag, or you were not fit for leadership, or not fit for any type of responsibilities that's going to serve a purpose. Okay, I went cranking 3 times. Does anyone know what cranking is? I went cranking 3 times because I chose to speak, because I chose to say, hey, I'm having this ailment and I need to go to a physician. So now there's a target on my back, right? I went cranking 3 individual times. And anyone knows what cranking is. It is specifically where you're going to do the grunt work of the military, where you're going to do the grunt work of the military, okay? I worked in the kitchen, I worked in the cheese mess, and I worked in the trash facility, okay? But one special person in my life did tell me, and again, this was a mentor that provided some information that I didn't know about. You're not going to be able to combat the hierarchy with this, right? No, you have to beat them with rank. So once you move up in service, at that point, that's when you're respected. That's when you're heard. So I had to make sure that I was the best, right? Be untouchable, be the guy that is relied on. And throughout that time frame, I was able to move up. However, I want you to understand, during those cranking days, I was exposed to the toxins. I was injured carrying things. I can't tell you how many times I hurt my back, carrying these large things of laundry up these ladder wells, right? These are the small things that no one talks about that happens in the military. Everything is a movie, right? Everyone is fighting, again, a sniper. Everyone is having those dealings. But no, it's behind the scenes work to actually get to that point, right? Again, I was on an aircraft carrier. Okay, when you're talking about aircraft carrier, that's a floating city. Okay, 5,000 plus itself. Okay, so you're dealing with different personalities. You're dealing with so many different things. So those are the things that you deal with. So again, when we're talking about back injuries, when we're talking about a fractured wrist, headaches, right? Knee strains, ringing in the ears, PTSD. And when we're talking about these things, I want you guys to understand, we could talk about it at the highest severity level, or we could talk about it at a very low severity. Yes, sir.
I was on the battleship Missouri